everything changes when we get together.
That's the voice of Courtney McDermott. Hi there, my name is Matthew Blades, and welcome to a special 9-episode series of bite-sized content called A Microdose for the things that keep you up at night. Here's the way I look at life. Each one of us is just a sequence of words away from having everything make sense, or at least gaining more clarity. So if you're ready to make a micro investment in you and walk through topics like blowing up what you built, tuning out the noise, becoming that transitional character, improving your health, your relationships, advancing in your career, then you found the right place. Welcome to a very special Learn from People Who Lived It. Success. What do you think about when I use the word success?
Success is like, it's almost like spirituality, right? What was that, our third episode?
Mm-hmm.
I think it can hold a lot of even unintentional meaning for people, but a lot of almost burden, like I have to be a success. And we're raised in this society that says you're nobody unless you're somebody successful, or you're nobody unless you're somebody. Like, oh, clearly you are, right? And so it definitely, for me personally, it's like, I don't know what, in the context of this, I'd love for you actually to define what is success, and so then we can talk about that, because okay. I think a lot of people have mixed feelings and also definitions.
2 years ago, I sat down with pen and paper in my office, mm-hmm. and I said, "What is success?" That's that was the prompt. Mm-hmm. And I said, I wish I had it with me because I can't remember everything that I wrote down right now. But I said, success is my kids always knowing they can come to me for any problem and never being afraid to come to me for any problem. Success is waking up every day still in love with my wife. Success is still having these great relationships with my friends and nurturing those. Success is pouring into other people in a way that helps them shift the same way that other people helped me shift. Mm-hmm. And so that was that's a summary of it, was that it isn't about, for me any longer, because I had the job that paid, I had the notoriety, I had all of the things, and they weren't fulfilling. Mm-hmm. The things that I just mentioned to you, when those things are on point, I feel pretty good about myself. And it almost doesn't matter what's happening in other areas of my life. So bat that around.
Well, for me, it's funny. So for me, success is that connection with this intelligence that we talked about in the first, second, third, I don't know, one of these episodes, a few of these episodes probably. It's like, how connected am I with, and how free am I of what gets in the way of it? And for me, that's success. It doesn't look like a specific relationship, but for sure there are elements of what you're talking about. Like, for sure there's elements of, but I think it all comes down to, again, that free flow of that intelligence through this form, and then how it connects with itself through other forms as well, right? So whether that's my daughter, whether that's someone else, but it's like connecting in that way that's not demanding, that's not requiring anything of anyone other than myself, and being the best that the best that I can be. Like, showing up. One of the things I say every day is, like, just do the absolute best you can with every single thing that's in front of you, every person, every situation, every whatever, and you're good. And if at the end of the day you're like, wow, I really did do my best, which I think most people are trying to do their best, then you've had a successful day. And a series of those is what I believe makes a successful life.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I also think that success in your 20s looks different, in your 30s looks different, in your 40s looks different, in your 50s. Like, it's just human nature. We're focused on different things. When I was in my 20s, I just wanted to achieve. And success to me was getting into a top 10 market at a big radio station. Maybe for you, it was the job that you ended up having with magazine, and like the big role that you had there. And then in your 30s, that shifted. And so let's talk about that for just a second. What did success look like for you in your 20s?
Oh, gosh. Well, earlier I was kind of on this fast track academic career kind of, not that I was going to stay in academia, but I was going through school really quickly. And the idea was I was going to be a lawyer. And I was, there were all these other things that I thought were what I was supposed to be. But then when I was doing my graduate work in London, I met my husband, the man who became my husband, and it was like, oh, now everything's shifting again, right? And then I ended up moving to Italy where I didn't speak the language and I didn't know anybody, and I lived in the middle of nowhere. I was under the Dolomites and kind of like out in the countryside. It was a very bizarre, I think for me, every time I tried to plan, it was like life was like, oh, there's something else happening here. And even now it's like that. I definitely had ideas of what I was supposed to do, but I kind of got slapped out of them lots of times. So then I would say like, oh, I want to do this. I want to go work for corporate, but I wouldn't have imagined that it would have turned out the way that it did. For sure, a lot of those were externally guided when I was younger. So as you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to get these kind of grades, you're supposed to go to this kind of institution, you're supposed to get this kind of job, you're supposed to get married, you're supposed to have a child, you're supposed to, all these things as I've heard it said, we're, shooting all over ourselves. And then I like got to a place where it was, where much, later, where I started to consistently recognize and more as my life goes on is like, it's not anything external, it's like no kind of external validation or is going to actually provide that. What's going to provide that sense of success or freedom is really connecting with, like I said, with that intelligence that's wanting to express through me in a very specific way.
Yeah, I believe that I left something off of what would success look like, and it really is at the end of the day about the relationship that you have with yourself, and waking up and feeling good in your own skin, and to me, this is why I wanted to do this series with you, because I know that there's a lot of people, myself included, from time to time, who wake up and don't feel good in their own skin. And I know for myself also that usually is because of some inaction. When I was going through my retreat, one of these guys said something to me so powerful. He said, get back to knowing, Matthew, because you do. You know what you need to do. You just are talking yourself out of it for some reason. Maybe you don't feel worthy. Maybe you don't feel like, it's not for you, blah, blah, blah. The stories go on and on. But get back to knowing, because you do. And I can tell you, when I'm aligned with that thought, I do feel better about myself. And it's funny because you and I have talked about this before, and it's definitely going to come up in our last episode together. But success is a frequency. Money is a frequency. And so that's a good tee up to where we're headed next, because that's what we're going to spend a lot of time talking about. And you were actually the one that planted that seed for me. So thank you. Anything else that we should say about success?
I think leaving it off as a indicator of your enoughness. Because I think people chase after this idea of success ultimately because they don't feel like they're enough. And they feel like something's lacking in them. And the more you can actually start to rest into, I have everything. I already am everything. And I know that may feel like a humongous stretch. It definitely has for me many times in my life. But the more you can find resources and ways to rest back into that awareness, the more your life will feel like a so-called success. And it will actually really be a success, not just an idea of it or a picture that everyone says is what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, you're already there.
You're already there.
All right. Well, when we come back, it's episode 9, and we wrap this thing up. And keep in mind, our goal is to serve up some solid, actionable content to help you improve your situation, one microdose at a time. And so our final microdose together is going to be around money. We'll see you then.